Good things come in small packages, and nothing defines that statement than the Google Pixel 8. It has already been 8 months since this was released to the public, and in that time, it was a pretty rocky start. The battery life was not consistent, it got warm to the touch after the most mundane tasks, and performance, especially when it came to third-party apps, were not up to expectation. But with the new feature drop updates, the question remains, has Google finally succeeded with the Pixel 8? These are the questions I am hoping to address in this video. Let's get into it. Okay, so I want to quickly cover the hardware improvements between this and the older Pixel 7 and the differences with the bigger Pixel 8 Pro. Now, I believe they did a great job making the Pixel 8 more ergonomically friendly, or should I say friendlier than the almost square-shaped design of the Pixel 7. The flat display with the rounded corners sits well within the palm of my hand, and there is no fear that this will fall off at any given time, and this is great if you do not like putting on a case on your phone. It also helps that this is a smaller form factor than the Pixel 8 Pro that is about 6.7 or 6.8 inches tall, making this one of the lightest budget phones in the industry with a weight of 187 grams. So one of the key features the Pixel 8 should have had is a matte finish with the glass back. It is preferential at this point in time, but a softer matte finish reduces those ugly smudges, especially if you got yours with a darker color. The fingerprint sensor is still average. With so many updates, this is clearly a hardware problem more than anything else. Even though this is an optical fingerprint scanner, I believe that there are different levels because I have used the Redmi Note 13 Pro Plus and that has an optical fingerprint scanner, but it is super fast. With the Pixel 8, it takes a firm stamp before it opens, as opposed to an ultrasonic fingerprint scanner that is seen on the S24, and that is why Face Unlock has been my primary way of unlocking my phone. The display is one of the biggest upgrades when compared to the Pixel 7. The brightness has seen a 42% jump to 2000 nits of max brightness, so those annoying visibility issues that I had when going outside on the Pixel 7 has been completely fixed. Also fixed is adaptive brightness. It instantly responds to darkness or extreme brightness from the sun and is pretty intuitive. It also has that 120Hz refresh rate that makes scrolling and the general interaction feel smooth, but over time I have noticed the true 120Hz refresh rate is only within the Google native apps. So you have your Chrome, your YouTube, Google Calendar, and the other apps that are within the phone. But once you start using other apps like Facebook, Reddit, or even Twitter, and yes, I still call it Twitter, it has those little stutters that you notice. Also, another thing that I found weird, when you unbox the phone, the Pixel 8 only turns on the 60Hz screen. You have to go into your settings and turn on the 120Hz refresh rate. I'm not really sure why, but it's something I just noticed. Ultimately, by 2024 standards, the display is pretty good and most won't run into any issues. Over time, there have been software updates, and this time around, they happen to drop their June feature drop updates with a few features that will enhance your Pixel experience. And I think the most notable ones that I found are the Find My Pixel phone when your battery is dead or when it's turned off, and mystery caller. And just like the iPhone, finding your phone when the battery runs out is now on your Pixel 8 and your Pixel 8 Pro. So if you ever get your phone stolen and the thieves turn off the phone, it can be tracked. And we also have mystery caller. So if you live in the US or Canada, for example, you already know the amount of spam calls that we get on a regular basis. Google already does a good job in filtering those spam calls, but this just takes it a step further. So you can just easily know who is calling your phone if you miss a phone call. Other feature drop updates pertain to the Pixel tablets, the Pixel Buds Pro, and the Pixel Watch, with the latter allowing for controlling your smart home devices from your watch if you do not have your phone nearby. And while these updates are good in the overall grand scheme of things, the performance, it left a lot to be desired. For one, the AI features like Circle to Search, your Magic Editor, and the likes take some time to work its magic. The camera has a huge shutter lag if you want to take multiple pictures of a person or an object, or you're in a sports arena. You have to do it one after the other, so you already know how annoying that can be. It also takes seconds to process a picture. Then add to the fact that the smaller Pixel 8 will not get video boost, which, if I'm being honest, I think this might even be a good thing, because till this day, I have never used Video Boost on my Pixel 8 Pro. It's never occurred to me to use Video Boost, so I mean, I guess it's for the better. Now, there is that discourse of Google switching to Qualcomm and making the Pixel 8s or the Pixel phones generally one of the best Android phones with the Snapdragon chipsets, because if we're being honest, it is the performance that holds back the Pixel phones, and I think Google will still stick with Tensor for another year or two and see how it goes. And I don't really blame them. It is certainly cheaper from a business decision, and it's why they can afford to give us 7 years of software and security updates. But it's not all bad though, because Tensor allows for better battery life, in my opinion. Of course, it will differ from person to person, but take it from someone that has a high refresh rate. The battery here is pretty good. Adaptive battery has led my core habits and began to deliver good battery life. Now, I do end my day with my phone still on 20-30%, and which gives me about 6, 7, or even 8 hours of screen on time on a very good day. It could be better, of course, but remember, it is a small form factor and the display only goes down to 60 Hz if you want to save your battery life. But the question is, how will the battery function in a few years after those 7 years updates have been implemented? We'll have to wait and see. All right, let's talk about the cameras. And on the surface, it doesn't look like much has changed. It still has those dual camera sensors, but when you look closely, there are a few internal changes that are a step up from the Pixel 7. The main sensor now lets in more lights, while the ultra-wide got its biggest change, having the same sensor as the Pixel 7 Pro, with a wider 0.5x lens, which also means it supports macro photos, something the Pixel 7 did not have. Until this day, I believe the Pixel phones are the best cameras to take pictures with, especially if you're a person of color. I know I've said this many times, but real tone is a feature that I really love on the Pixel phones, and I'm happy that Google has that present here. Now, this helps with getting my exact skin tone, so I can easily just point and shoot and have, I don't have to worry about the way I look. Also, on the Pixel 8 and the Pixel 8 Pro, it has a few AI features like Best Take that can easily take your bad group pictures and make it a thing of the past. And I've used it many times in the last few months, and it has given me great results. I also just want to say taking pictures on your Pixel 8 is easily one of the easiest things to do, because you don't really need to think about the angles or the lighting conditions. You just have to point and shoot, and Google's image processing software does all the work for you. Now, even though sometimes it overcompensates by over sharpening those images, it still comes out pretty well. Now, the ultra-wide lens is pretty good and adds a bit more depth than last year. Low lights are also great with rich color and dynamic range. Video is pretty good for what it's worth, especially with a lot of light. Where it begins to lose its quality is when the sun sets. You begin to notice a lot of noise in your pictures or your videos. So if you do plan to take a lot of videos with your Pixel 8, just make sure that there is a lot of sunlight to get the best results. My final thoughts stems from the question at the beginning of this video. With the new updates, has Google finally succeeded with the Pixel 8? And this is a two-part answer. With the hardware, yes, I think the new design is pretty good. The Pixel 8 does not feel cheap. Now, if we get rid of that glossy back, it'll even be better. The Pixel 8 feels like the start of a new era when it comes to Google phones, but on the software and the performance side, it falls short. I love the fact that they have their own SoC with Tensor, but that doesn't mean that it is the best possible direction for this phone. At $700, it is quite pricey and is a daunting experience at the same time when you factor in the price itself. But if you can get this for $500 or even $550, then the experience is vastly different, with the best picture taking camera, a solid battery life, and of course Gemini Nano, which is their AI side of the whole thing. Now, apart from that, I would think twice before buying the Pixel 8 at full retail price. Thank you guys for watching. My name is KJ, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.